We very much appreciate this. This is Gwanghyeok Ju from KARI, and just a couple of sentences of background. We have known each other for several years now, and have been developing a partnership. I believe we started perhaps with NLSI, and then continuing on with Survey, with the entire lunar science community in Korea. And he's going to be, Gwanghyeok is going to be talking about the status of their lunar program and the status of lunar science in Korea. So, Gwanghyeok, please.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this event. So I'm kind of very happy and nervous, especially if I say in Korean. So I can very happy, but so yeah, I have to say in English in front of so mostly American people. So please understand our Korean style English, and so Korean style lunar program. Today I'm talking about the lunar program status, and even if very small, but lunar science research activities in Korea. Actually, so 2007, the Korean lunar program was announced just as a declaration, but no government official or no president taking care of it. But actually, 2013. So the first woman president inaugurate. So she made the announcement for the lunar program. More specifically, we are going to the moon by 2020 with a orbiter and lander. So even though it's very ambitious, but still, as a national policy agenda, still it will be handled by the highly government official. So since our president make an announcement for the lunar exploration, so any scientific rationale or motivation was not the starting point. Actually, maybe like Apollo. So it's a kind of the starting motivation is from the presidential office, and then like a political. So the main goal for our lunar program was to make an enhancement and to give us some motivation to the Korean people to have an economic revival and enhance the national brand image, and give us some motivation as a technology, innovation, something like that. So after getting the national agenda, so our community gathered to study, they established the specific the plan for scientific purpose and technology demonstration purpose. So still we are struggling with our governmental budget office, and still with our scientific community to which one is better option for our lunar program. Anyhow, so this kind of several different regions put together, so that we are preparing the Korean Lunar program. After getting our President's announcement, so we have to change our National Space Development Plan. So by adding this number 4 strategy into our plan. Even though at that time, from the before the 2020, so 7 years are left. But 2020 was just was included our development plan. But Kari, the strategic team, added one more thing to prepare. We need some kind of practice to send some Pathfinder lunar orbiter in advance. Currently, our plan is we send the Pathfinder lunar orbiter. It's 2018. So our lunar program is composed of 3 different spacecraft to be sent to the moon, including a Pathfinder lunar orbiter and lunar lander. But unfortunately, after getting official approval and finish up our strategic study, so we got a official approval for the only first phase to cover the only Pathfinder lunar orbiter and some payload and preparation study for the second phase. So the brief overview for the first phase is we have to launch our orbiter by 18. So with a budget is 170 million USD. So in this case, in parallel, in Kari, another division, so the launch vehicle division, they needed to prepare the launch vehicle to cover, to send us our orbiter or lander to the moon by 2020. In the meantime, for this KPLO, we have to use the foreign launch vehicle. So we are currently surveying basically the US launch vehicle and otherwise Indian or Dnipro like a Russian launch vehicle. So also our main objective for this mission is we have to build up our Korean DSN ground station. So maybe by end of this year, so we have to finish up select the optimal location to build up a Korean DS ground station, and from next year we have to get started to establish a new Korean DSN. So also the JPL and headquarter communication group give us many advice, and we are going to have a formulate working group for this ground station. So system configuration. Thus, at the KPLO mission trajectories, we are going to use kind of a phase loop with a direct transfer to the lunar orbit, because our orbiter will be based upon on spacecraft propulsion with only monopropellant propulsion. So mainly when we need to get the propulsion, there'll be based upon the launch vehicle for TLI. So after that, we can get some lunar orbit capture based upon our spacecraft propulsion. Here is some preliminary bus design. It's very similar to the LADI. Actually, about 5 years ago, we have benchmarked the modular design for the LADI. So at that time, LADI was some initial phase. So we and slightly changed and making our own design inside altogether. So KPLO milestone is maybe we are struggling with the budget office from the last year. So, but we cannot get the official funding, even though our internal funding provided to our current study. But from next year, we can get the officially funded. So normally in Korea, if once we get funded and whatever the duration will be delayed, so we can fully fund it until the end of a mission. So that is the difference between the Korean system and US system. So that's why our budget office is not trying to give us money starting point, because once they give money and then they have to pay them all. So they are trying to manage the parallel mission, parallel ongoing KARI mission, because of so a lot of funding as will be provided to our launch vehicle. So we are struggling due to the launch vehicle. It's a kind of an irony. So our project status is actually last year we cannot get funded. So for this year, so by the end of this year, that will be included. So official program execution will be started the beginning of next year, and also in parallel from during the last several years, especially I talked to NASA headquarters and AIMS, so we got a close relationship between the regarding NSI or survey or the AIMS management to have several different type of collaboration, including so lunar impactor, CubeSat, or so image processing, or survey science-based any kind of collaboration. So we got some LOI, and we are going to have an MOU by the end of this year. So KPLO AIO status is actually two different science payload will be awarded to domestic, and two different science payload will be awarded to NASA especially. So, but if NASA budget is not available at the right time, so we are going to share the funding from our side to have a collaboration through the NASA survey and NASA headquarters. So here is just a summary of the KPLO. Still, for the specific science definition is we are undergoing. But category for our scientific mission, so we have two category to specify the map or the topography for the lunar resource, And the other one is we have to investigate the environment of the moon. So this is the AIO plan for international. So still we are talking to the NASA headquarters. So maybe after make announcement for the AIO, domestic AIO at the beginning of next year. After that, maybe we can make a additional release for the AIO for internationally, but not for the worldwide, maybe through the NASA. So inside the NASA, we will have a AIO. And let me tell you about briefly about the current research activity overview. So actually, not much budget and not much research lab and university are working for the Lunar related research activity. But however, it's a fast growing people, so it take over this kind of research because we are trying to make a funding for the basic research from different sources. But most of all, they are still mostly in pre-phase A or preliminary stage, focusing on mainly focusing on the instrument, not the science. So that is a kind of dilemma. But in their case, they are trying to have a funding from our carry and main source. So their basic idea is that we have to make an instrument first. So that's the basic idea. So our KIGAM or some universities showed recently very outstanding matured outcome to the several journal. So this is a chart for our Korean lunar science network. Actually, this network can be covered through the survey network. So we will very appreciate it. So the rest of the slide is show the current research activity at the KIGAM. KIGAM for the nuclear science payload, especially the spectrometer. And CARI is working on the mid-infrared spectrometer to find out the water is on the South Pole. And the CASI is making actually the preliminary design for the IR, infrared IR. And other institution or other infrared spectrometer. And LIPS. So and the telescope style or LiDAR, mostly they are working on some instrument itself to get some favorable position to get the funding from our main source. So here is a summary. Still we are open for the AIO, for the science payload, will be released in early 2017-16 to internationally, especially NASA colleague. So also Korea is seeking for the chance to participate research prospector or Moonrise mission by making additional research funding from government, not for the real and scientific payload and lander participation. In more detail, please talk to me.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We may have time for a very brief question, but what I want to say is what a privilege it's been working with Gwang and his team in Korea and helping them establish a program like this. It was we've been calling it kind of a Kennedy moment when their president started this lunar program, and it's just awesome, quite honestly, being able to help start something like this. And for those of you who are paying attention carefully, I mean, there could be some really nice opportunities for you in this. Gwang mostly spoke of the orbiter, of course, but if you noticed in the plan, there are plans for eventually to land on the moon, and they want to involve NASA, and I think that could be just a great opportunity for us. And I know a number of you in the audience have been going to Korea for the various lunar symposia. The next lunar symposium is in November, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe that that's open for the community. So we will have that on our survey
even in Korea, NASA brand name is more favorable than curry. So, so I asked to the stewardess in the airplane. So they know the NASA, but they don't know about curry. So
everyone will soon.
Yeah, that's why our government or our normal people would like work with NASA. So that is